God of Rock, thank you for this chance to kick ass. We are your humble servants. Please give us the power to blow people's minds with our high voltage rock. In your name we pray. Amen.
So I had an initial thought and I was like, it's only this. And then my brain thought back a little bit further. So my initial thought is Tenacious D, in the Pick of Destiny. But it
never actually seen that.
It's not surprising. It's not super great. I'm gonna be real. I mean, even as someone who likes Tenacious D, like the music was good, but the movie, yeah. My other thought is, shit. Mike Myers, Dana Carvey,
Wayne's World.
Schwing, yeah, Wayne's World.
You were hotter on the first guess.
Well, if you haven't seen Pick of Destiny, my guess then is it's School of Rock.
That's it.
You and I have unfinished business.
Oh? And what's so stinking about it?
The moment of catching a feeling, spirit to something. I think this just might be my masterpiece.
Welcome to the Average Joe's Movie Clubcast. This is Justin.
And I'm Joey.
In this episode, we'll see if the hype is real when it comes to the artsy Japanese psychological crime drama, Cure. And we're also watching a Batman film that Joey picked out to go after our Batman 89 that we watched. So we're going to be watching 1992. It is our first Batman movie on the podcast. Excited.
Yeah, is it our first comic book superhero movie?
Oh wow, could be.
I mean, I'm sure. I mean, we did Star Wars, but that's not really superheroes. I mean, they are superheroes,
Last Jedi.
But yeah, but I don't think we've done like a Marvel movie or. I mean, we talked about Endgame a little bit, but it wasn't like the official movie.
Yeah.
That was way back in the third or fourth episode? It was a long time ago. It was the Persona episode, so it was a long time ago.
It was.
Yeah. Well, if someone remembers our catalog better than us and we've done a superhero movie, tell us that we're stupid.
We've done a lot of episodes. Hard to believe.
And just a heads up, we do discuss our full thoughts on these films, so if you have not seen a movie and you want to avoid spoilers, skip ahead. Or watch the movie and come back.
Like, subscribe, comment. We'd love to hear from you. Join the club. Alrighty. So, school is back in full swing. So I am back to getting up at 6:30 to take the kiddos to school. But, I find my little relaxation / pleasure points here and there. This week I've been working a little bit in the hammock. Doing a little work on the old laptop and, sprawling out in the hammock in different ways. Not a bad way to make a living.
Yeah, that sounds a lot better than in the bank that's inside of Walmart. So, yeah, I'm with you there, brother.
And glad it's a long weekend going into Labor Day.
You suck.
Oh, you gotta labor away on Labor Day?
So I have. First off, I do work tomorrow because we alternate Saturday. So last weekend I had the 3-day weekend. This weekend it's 8 to 4 or 9:30 to 4 tomorrow, and then I'm off Sunday, and then it's 9:30 to 2 on Monday. So yeah, and so I'm off Monday, or I'm off Sunday after 5 in a row, and I have 5 in a row into 3 off. So
Okay.
I mean, it could be a lot worse.
I believe you. Well, at least you won't have such rigorous hours come the holiday season, right?
Well, yes, but not for the reason that I think you're saying there, because of the bank. It's more than likely I will not be at the bank come the holiday season. So
that's good news.
Yes. So anybody who is friends with me on Facebook has seen me sharing posts from a page called New Game Plus. That is a business that's going to be opening up later this month, hopefully by the end of this month, being September, by my buddy Christian. But he's not going to quit his normal HVAC job, so he needs somebody else to run it. I'll be this guy. Yeah. So actually,
you're going to manage a brand new brick and mortar game store? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. I mean, I'm gonna be the only person where it's a 2-man opera. It's like a 2-man squad. It's me and him. So, my job doesn't know this yet, because they pretty much are of the opinion if you give your 2 weeks notice, they just go ahead and let you go. And I kind of need that income until I start this. But none of them even know I have this podcast, so it's fine.
So what are the deets? A good location? Any special gimmicks to this particular store?
So, I mean, it is here in Florence. I think anybody that knows about it in Florence knows where it's going to be. So we have in Florence, we have Galactic Comics and Heroes Hideout, and they were in the same strip building. And Galactic Comic moved to the building beside that building and took over an old Salvation Army, which made them Salvation Army. And that made them the biggest comic book store on the East Coast. The spot that they vacated, Heroes Hideout, which is the local Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon shop / ramen house, moved to that bigger spot last Saturday. Thus putting New Game Plus into the old Heroes Hideout location, which is right off of Highway 76, so it's pretty easy to get to from places like Myrtle Beach or Sumter. They can just ride 76. It's a major highway in the state and in Florence. I mean, it's going to be retro, so I mean, don't think so much like, oh, I'm going to get a PS5 there. Think more like NES, SNES, Wii's, that kind of stuff.
It's going to have more of a game store and like a flea market feel.
A game store feel. Christian is trying to get it set up to kind of feel like a Blockbuster. And there's going to be, I don't know if at first, but there's going to be like TVs hanging up with like 90s commercials playing and, that kind of stuff. It's going to have this really cool, just like retro vibe and feel to it. Kind of neon-y, like the 90s were. So I'm pretty stoked about it. I mean, it's a big risk. Like, I'm leaving a job that pays pretty well and has really good insurance and that kind of stuff, but I hate it. Like, I'm miserable every day going to work. So, like, what good is all that stuff if you're miserable, Like,
I guess it's worth a chance.
I mean, yeah, the banking aspect of it, like doing teller work and banker work is fine. I could do that all day, every day in my sleep and would be fine with it. It's the like going in to solicit people in Walmart for accounts to get these arbitrary numbers that some Yahoo, fucking office came up with. So,
Well, I know whenever you walk by with the DVDs over there, they generally have these like people like throwing cell phone plans at you, and you're like, please don't look at me, please don't look at me. As I'm, walking over to like the camping department.
Yeah, I mean they've got, because I mean you've got the Walmart employees, but then you've got the person that's like employed by Verizon or whatever, and I'm sure they get paid commission or something, so that really incentivizes them, where they could just be paid a regular wage, but that's a completely different conversation. But with that being said, we are going to be at PowerCon here in Florence next week at the Florence Civic Center. Oh, I'm sorry, the Florence Center. It's not the Civic Center anymore.
Okay.
So it's like 10 to 6, I think, is what it's going to be. I'm only going to be there from like 10 to 1 because I have some concert tickets I had bought before all of this was set in motion. So I'll be going down to the beach to see In This Moment Saturday afternoon. But I'll be there till 1. Christian will be there all day. We're going to have product. We're going to be selling it. You know, just kind of like a little appetizer of what's to come in a couple of weeks. So should be pretty cool. And then, like I said, I got that concert that day, and then I'm gonna just test myself and see how old I really am by going to a concert the next day as well in Charlotte. And
what are you seeing up there?
So Saturday in Myrtle Beach at the House of Blues, it's Nothing More In This Moment. And then in Charlotte, it's going to be the Butcher Babies. And then the headliner is Lacuna Coil.
Okay. And heard any of that before.
I've seen Lacuna Coil at the House of Blues several years ago. They opened for like Kill Switch. They only played a few songs. They're kind of like Europe. I mean, they're European. They're Italian. A European band. They've got the dual, like they got the dual vocals with the guy with the deep voice and then the girl singing. And the Butcher Babies are dual vocalists as well. It's 2 females. And I've seen them at Carolina Rebellion, and they put on a hell of a show. I saw them 2015, I believe it was. So it's been a while.
Wow, you got a lot of traveling coming up soon.
Yeah,
more exciting than
next,
what I got. But
next weekend will be pretty exciting. I'm not driving to the beach. I am driving to Charlotte, but I'm not driving to the beach. So I'm
Myrtle Beach.
Myrtle Beach, yeah. So
want to hear about some horrors and homemaking?
Oh, what you got?
All right, so last Sunday I set out to clean the garage. That was the goal. And I knew to properly clean the said garage, I was going to take everything out of this. So this was an all-day project. Pulled everything out. It was kind of stormy, but I wasn't too worried. Like, it was kind of off in the distance. So pulled everything out, got the old hose out, sprayed everything out. Man, it was disgusting behind our fridge. Like, there was like this huge black spot on the wall. Like, I think where like dirt over years had just like collected there and like bounced against the fridge or whatever. It was nasty. But yeah, I got it all cleaned up, and yeah, it started raining. And then my wife showed up right then, and she's just like, but the floor doesn't look clean yet. So that was quite frustrating on a whole day's worth of work, and basically told me the job was not anywhere near done. Anyways, I had to pile everything back in there because it was raining. Had to spend a few days drying everything out, put everything back nice, and then yesterday I went to Lowe's and got some degreaser and put that on the floor to hopefully knock some of like the paint off and so forth. That didn't do shnikes, didn't do nothing. Even did some scrubbing on the floor. And then, yeah, I finally put like a bleach, OxyClean mixture and got some of the dirty, like the dirt marks up. But now my this degreaser thing actually somehow smells like kitty litter. So yeah, my garage smells like kitty litter, but is immaculately clean. So now you know.
When you said you washed it out, were you using just like a water hose, or were you using like power washer?
I used to water hose. My father owns a power washing business, but I don't have a pressure washer. I probably could have knocked up the paint if I would have had one.
I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure if you just would have went and got the one from him, you would have been blammo, and would have been no having to like get all that extra steps. But
yeah,
it wouldn't have been as good of a story.
Yeah. Well, that would have been a whole nother thing I would have had to do on top of taking everything out of the garage and doing all that cleanup work. I thought it was fine, but yeah, she's a little pickier than I expected. So, but this is a movie podcast. We talk about movies.
Yeah,
more domestic.
Let's wish your wife get well soon while we're at it here.
Yeah,
so
she's recovering in bed right now. So
yeah.
Anywho, let's get into what we've been watching lately with the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm so good, Joey. I think I remember the movies, and I just put down my categories. The King. I feel the need for nostalgia and as sweet as it gets.
I mean, I have a feeling that we're going to talk about the same movie. I'm 99.9% sure we're going to talk about the same movie. I have the really good, great rewatches. I cheated a little bit, and not as bad as I thought.
Okay. So what wasn't as bad as you thought?
The Twilight Saga.
Oh, I thought you were a big fan.
Oh, well, I'd seen the first movie back when I was dating my baby mama many, many years ago. And I am going through the Mojo Top 100 list on Letterboxd. If you have your stats, so I guess if you're pro or higher, it has that on there. And so the Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 2 is in the top 100. Well, I wasn't going to watch the fifth movie
Breaking Dawn Part 2.
Yeah.
Of all the movies.
I wasn't going to watch the fifth movie of a series without watching like the first four.
I saw all those movies. I saw all of them but the first one in the theater with my dad. He likes vampires.
I mean, I love vampire movies, and I read all the books. My daughter's name is Bella, not after Bella Swan, but it was in that time period. And but we so I watched them all. They were not great by any means, but I mean they were good for what they were trying to do. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson sucked. It was like, no, those characters sucked. Like, I remember reading the book. Those characters sucked, and they did what they could with them. But I'm pretty sure if you're on Letterboxd and you read all of my reviews, it's all about Alice. It's the Alice show, and you could have just done more with Alice, and it would have been a lot better.
So the whole franchise is what it is. Oh, yes, Twilight Saga, sure enough. Okay.
Yeah, the saga.
Well,
I mean, I just figured it was easier to accompany all of them. Plus, 4 of them have Anna Kendrick in it. I mean, who doesn't love Anna Kendrick? So, I mean, I guess if you want to look at, Robert Pattinson and Taylor Lautner and Kellen Lutz or whatever, all, shirtless with their 800 packs, then, that's, good for the ladies and gentlemen.
Some good moments I remember in the first movie, the baseball thing and the battle in the school gym. And
they were playing Supermassive Black Hole during the baseball scene. I think that's the Right Muse song. So yeah, it was good. Some of them were not as good as others, but I mean they were chock full of great actors. I mean, you had
let me see if I can even remember these movies. Okay, you got the original Twilight, and then you got New Moon, where like she's like Edward like goes away and she's all sad and she falls in love with Jacob, but then they show up in like Italy or something at the end, and they take care of business. And then the next one is Eclipse.
Yes.
And that's just where like there's just a bunch of smackdown between the wolves and the vampires.
Yeah, there's the growing like animosity between them, and
some bad vampires show back up or something.
Yeah, like there's a vampire that like raised a nest in Seattle and was drawing attention, and they had to fight them. And
then is it Breaking Dawn after that?
Yeah, Breaking Dawn 1 and 2.
Gotcha. I think Breaking Dawn 1's probably the worst because it's just the baby crap.
Oh, the baby is in 1 and into 2. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was 3. I think I thought was the worst because part of it was Kristen Stewart was shooting, I think, The Runaways, and so they had this fucking god awful atrocious wig on her, like like you just look at it and you're like, this isn't right. But I mean, like I said, obviously we're not talking fucking Oscar worthy movies here. They're meant to be marketed to like young people, and I think they were, for what they were fine. Like
you can justify your trash by dissing the Oscars all you like.
I wasn't dissing the Oscars. Anyway, it's fine for what it is. I don't feel a need. I probably should ever need to watch them again, but they were fine.
Okie doke.
All right,
What do you want me to talk about?
Huh?
What do you want me to talk about?
As Sweet as It Gets.
Oh, that's gonna be a Roman holiday, because Audrey Hepburn, she's a peach. She's delightful, but Gregory Peck is way too old for her in this movie. But that's the dynamic they have. Yeah, super cute movie. So my dental hygienist, this is her favorite movie, and I was like, oh, well, I'm gonna have to watch this movie and before my next appointment, and we can chat about it as you're scrubbing my gums. Yeah, hot. Anywho, yeah, it's a very sweet movie. It happened when Night's very similar, and I think a lot better with my man Clark Gable. But it's a little updated movie. The scenery, in Rome. I was kind of surprised it was black and white. If you watch Summertime from David Lean, that's also happens in Rome, and that has the other Hepburn, Catherine Hepburn, and it's a bit of a romance in Rome, and there's color, very vibrant and bright. But Audrey lights the whole thing up with her smile, anywho. So very pleasurable watch that Roman holiday.
So I have a bone to pick with you.
Bone.
Yeah. So I read your review of this movie.
Okay.
First of all, you said it wasn't original. It's like the original modern rom-com, and like Breakfast at Tiffany's, which is also Audrey Hepburn. You said something else that bothered both me and Carl, and I don't remember what it is now.
Oh.
But it definitely sounded like you, I don't know, like you didn't like it almost.
I dismissed it as being like kind of the usual kind of rom-com stuff, but at the same time, it had a lot of charm to it.
Also, I think going back to talking about G-Peck's Predator, Gregory Peck, I do think that this was one of the movies where he was like, okay, I'm going to stop being a leading man because of the age discrepancy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think something similar happened with Cary Grant and Sherrod, if my memory recalls correctly.
That doesn't stand out. I mean, you have and Rebecca, the one we talked about on the show. You had Bogey, Audrey, time, or kind of a little age gap there too. So,
I mean, definitely, and that I think you mean Sabrina.
Oh yeah, Sabrina. No, yeah, Rebecca's the Hitchcock film.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm saying I think she kind of was always with these much older leading men, and because they were still leading men, and you can be a leading man in Hollywood when you're much older, then you can be a leading woman. So, and that's a different conversation. But yeah, I want to say it was either Roman Holiday and Sherrod, or it was Roman Holiday or Sherrod, where the male lead was like, whoa, like I'm a little too old kind of deal, but I could be getting those mixed up.
Okay. Well, sorry to ruffle your feathers. I did enjoy it, just not as much as another movie.
No, that's perfectly fine. I was just kind of like, what? But I mean, look, you praised Audrey Hepburn, and that's all that matters, so we're fine.
Nice. Vespa. Got to say Vespa. All right. What was a really good watch?
The really good. That is one of the brand new to Criterion. My favorite, according to you, my favorite genre.
Mm-hmm. You saw Double Indemnity, huh?
Double Indemnity.
The noir of noirs.
Boy.
That's all right.
I mean, look who the director is.
Wilder. Yep.
Yeah. He's sitting in like the 4 and the 5 hole for my top movies this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with Some Like It Hot. I just love Billy Wilder. I mean, he's a great director, and the movie, to the surprise of nobody who knows me, just kept me freaking, like I was just engaged the whole time.
Okay.
So
because there's a little plot in there to commit some like insurance fraud. Is that what it's about?
Yes.
And there's a train and faking a death.
Yeah, there's all sorts of
piecing together my memory of it. I watched it a couple summers ago.
Yeah, so I put
Definitely
here.
Feels like the quintessential noir.
Like there's a shot of Mrs. Dietrichson lighting a cigarette in a dark room with a match, and I remember I just thought it was stunning the way that it was shot with that flame on the match. But yeah, no, Billy Wilder. The more and more I watch of him, the more and more I want to watch of him.
Did you guys watch this on the channel, or did you pick up is it the discount yet?
I bought this during the sale.
Okay.
So when the sale came, I had two $25 gift cards to Barnes and Noble. I actually picked up an Arrow box set, the Shawscope box set. So that was $200 down to $100, and then down to $50 with gift card. But then I ended up also picking up Double Indemnity, and I think I picked up something else, and I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. But I definitely picked up Double Indemnity. I couldn't resist the Billy Wilder noir. I was just like, I gotta. So
okay,
definitely recommend, especially if you like noirs, or if you want to try to get into like some older like classic Hollywood stuff, to watch Double Indemnity.
Okay.
All right, give me the king.
Okay, so I watched the new Elvis movie and I enjoyed it quite a bit.
That's what I suspected.
I knew, so like growing up, I enjoyed his music, Jailhouse Rock and stuff. And then I went and actually visited Graceland in Memphis. And when you visit Graceland, it's kind of set up kind of a museum style. So you kind of see the stages of Elvis, like early Elvis. And then, you know, he went overseas World War II, and then he came back and was a movie star in the 60s doing surfing movies. And then he became Vegas Elvis and Fat Elvis. So had kind of an idea of all that, but I never really kind of pieced together what the whole deal with Vegas was. And this movie does a really good job at nailing this, who this Colonel guy was that was kind of holding him back, kind of his nemesis, in terms of bringing out the best of him, but also kind of ruining his life in other aspects. It's a really good movie. Did not know that story at all, that side of what happened. And Tom Hanks, you know, is fantastic in that role. So you saw this too?
No. I just suspected this was what it was, the king. This is what it was going to be about. I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, but oh man, it's just amazing music. Really interesting, twisty turny story. I'm a sucker for a good music biopic, and I mean this obviously, you know, they have their similarities. I mean, tragic stuff happens, they break up, make up, all that kind of stuff we've seen in Ray and like Walk the Line and stuff. But Elvis is its own. I mean, Elvis is Elvis, and speaks for itself. Good movie.
Yeah, I heard it was pretty good. I remember one person talking about how they kind of skipped over the whole thing with Elvis and Priscilla and their age difference and what have you. But you know, I guess they were focusing more on the career.
They were focusing more on like. So, I mean, Tom Hanks is a main character as this Colonel guy, and he's his manager. So we're kind of watching Elvis's career develop along with, but we do see a personal side too. Their relationship is made to be much more like young and innocent than what I kind of always pictured it is. Because I kind of didn't really see them going together very well, but I haven't like seen them like pictures of them in their youth or anything, just, you know, of her, you know, nowadays. So yeah, what was their age difference? I know that's a big deal for you.
So, I mean, I think in this situation it's a big deal for everybody. And my understanding is that it was 24 to 14.
Oh, he married her when she was 14?
I don't know if they were married at 14, but I want to say it was something like.
Apparently, I think the movie said they met in Germany or something.
There was something to do with like her parents signing over custody or something too, like.
Oh, okay. No, they didn't know. They didn't go into that at all.
Yeah. So it would have been like, oh, he's 21 and she was 17, like that's a little bit of gray area, you know, because they could in theory be at like the same parties and shit, you know, like at school. But you know, when it's 24 and 14, like that's like, I get, you know, that was like 60, 70 years ago, and that was a different time. But even then, that was bordering on like, it's a little much. So
yeah. Now that you say that, I think I have heard that before. So, oops, forgot.
I mean, it happens. I mean, nothing. I mean, the movie skipped over it. You can't. I mean, like, or you know, is how they do. I mean, everything's an adaptation, or what they want, how they want to view it. So I mean, focused on what you saw. There's nothing. I mean, it is what it is.
All right, great rewatches for you.
All right, so I got a few here, and I feel like one of them is going to be the same as your next category here. So I got a couple of good rewatches recently. So rewatched Point Break. Kind of my get back. With...
I am an FBI agent.
Via con Dios. I love that movie so much. It's so not good, but it's so fucking great. I love it. I mean, it's young Keanu, it's Swayze, it's just full of 90s goodness. Yeah, I mean, we are the ex-presidents. I mean, you got bank robbery, and you got sports, with all the like a football on the beach, and then you got surfing, and you got skydiving. The shot at when you first meet Bodhi, and he's surfing under the wave, and they just shoot him surfing under the dude. It's so fucking cool. So, and you get to see Anthony Kiedis shoot himself in the foot. So, I mean, like, what isn't to love? And then I watched Quentin Tarantino's self-proclaimed masterpiece, Inglourious Bastards.
It's a good one.
Yeah, it'd been on
9999.
It had been in the random list for the cast last season, and I just finally was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna watch it." And so we watched it, me and Carl, and it was fucking great as always. I mean,
actually, Tarantino actually has a podcast that I've been listening to recently, and he was talking about some other movie that he actually took inspiration for the end of Inglourious Basterds. So I thought that was pretty cool. Sorry. Proceed.
I mean, of course he took inspiration. I mean, that's what he does.
That's what he does.
I mean, I love the man, but like the fact that I have movie upon movie, multiple movies, because they all influenced Kill Bill. Like, I have Lady Snowblood and The Whole Lone Wolf and Cub and White Clan of the White Lotus. That's why I bought the Shaw Scope box. Like, it's just what it is. So, but I mean, Christoph Waltz in that movie is chef's kiss. He's great. And then the last one, I feel the need for speed. I watched the OG.
Gracious. Good, great balls of fire. That's it.
I'm in the danger zone. Rewatched the OG Top Gun. Because, well, one, I already wanted to watch Top Gun Maverick, but as it's like the 11th highest grossing movie in the world, and like of all time, and like the 6th highest grossing movie domestically, like domestically it's outgrossed Infinity War, and it's still in theaters. And now we're on $3 theater day tomorrow, so people who want to just kill some time or haven't seen it for $3 can go and watch it. Like, yeah, it's gonna keep climbing. So I'm ready to go see Top Gun Maverick. But the OG Top Gun, like, I remember everyone's like, oh, it's so homosexual, and like, yeah, there's the guys are shirtless playing volleyball, and there's lots of scenes in like showers and locker rooms, and they're in towels or whatever. But okay, so what? Who cares? There was a lot of cool ass dog fighting. There was that really the girl
aerial dog fighting.
Yeah, aerial dog fighting.
Michael Vick.
I thought that was, not Michael Vick dog fighting, aerial dog fighting. I thought that was implied, but I guess if someone doesn't know what Top Gun is from 1986, then yes. There are people younger than us that might not know. I guess that's fair. And then you had the really cool, like, classic convertible that his Squeeze had. That whole scene in the bar at the beginning where they're like singing to her, trying to pick her up. Like, that was like, it was great. It's Tom Cruise.
Did that a couple times in college.
Oh, did you now?
You weren't ever with us when we serenaded the different sorority houses and we would sing that?
I don't think so.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I was only there for like a semester, brother.
Thought we did it then.
I mean, we could have. I just remember egging the DZ house and losing a sandal, and it got battered and all the stuff,
Yeah,
and
that
like
was
riding
pretty
around in
gross.
Brandon's Jeep. It's just standing in the back of the Jeep.
Jeep Renegade.
Oh yeah. I mean, that was like half our life ago, man. I don't remember that shit.
All right, Top Gun.
Yeah. So,
Anything else?
what's I feel the need for nostalgia.
Yeah, I watched Top Gun Maverick finally. Okay, so I didn't like. A lot of people were like going like, "Oh, this movie's amazeballs," and like I enjoyed it, but I didn't think it was amazing. So let's get into it a little bit. It's interesting how he did a good job of kind of bringing back the best flavors of Top Gun and mixing it with kind of a Mission Impossible story. So that's kind of what this movie is. Oh, I guess I just get irritated that people tease the original. I mean, I have a real gushy soft spot for that original, but I mean this was basically the original with some substance. Great aerial dogfighting stuff in this new one. Really cool stunts. I mean, they did all that stuff like in camera and stuff. So kudos to them. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean it's more of a fleshed out version of Top Gun, and yeah, it was worth the wait.
Oh yeah, no, I'm definitely looking forward to watching that. It's on the agenda sooner rather than later.
Oh, my other big gripe is the fact that, okay, so like in the original Top Gun, like the third act slump is not like, oh, Goose is dead or whatever. We're like, yeah, that's sad. Everyone's sad. We're sad. Goose died. Anyways, you know, with Miles Teller being his like son in this new one, like, you know, like being sad about Goose was like, oh, there was a lot more being said about Goose, and we were already sad about Goose. I'm ready to move on to that
But I
mission.
mean,
But yes,
maybe
that brings
because-
all the human emotion part of it into it.
Well, I
Yes,
was gonna
and makes
say
people
more
care
of,
about the
like-
characters.
like to him he killed his best friend. I don't think that's something he just gets over even years later. So
True. And I think somebody commented me on Facebook or on Letterboxd me like, "Oh, have a heart." I mean, they were best friends, and I am. I'm just kind of mocking the fact that they used the same kind of emotional hook twice. But I mean, it's a very big hook.
indeed, looking forward to some more Tom Cruise in my life.
All right,
And
let's get in.
Teller. I think Miles Teller is highly underrated.
Yeah. All right, feature movies. So the first one we're going to talk about is Cure. This was my pick. This is a 1997 Japanese psychological mystery horror film. That's a lot of genre describers, isn't it? Written by this guy, Kiyoshi Kurosawa. We've heard that last name before. Not the same guy, though. The story
think they're
follows a detective investigating a string of gruesome murders where the victims end up with an X carved into their throat. The murderer is found not too long later, but they don't remember anything about the crime. This movie was part of the new wave in Japanese cinema, the J-horror movement, with fellow movies like Ring You and The Grudge mixed in there. So, was this on your radar at all in terms of your J-horror consumption?
Never even heard of this. Now, Carl, when he heard us mention it, was like, hell yeah, like this was on his list.
Okay.
I had never heard of it. But speaking of things on list, both The Ring and like all of the Ju-on movies, and then The Grudge and the American Ring are actually all on my Halloween list for this year. So
Okay. That's actually how I kind of... What I do is I email the Criterion Creeps every week, and sometimes when it gets around October time, I send them my my Halloween Movie Fest list, and Cure was on there, and they were just like, "Oh, I'm curious what Peterson has to say about Cure," and I finally watched it. It just got recently announced for Criterion, Spine 1155. So yeah, I thought it was pretty much a perfect pick. It going to the collection, it being this J-horror thing that's supposed to be a lot like David Fincher's Seven. So what do we have to lose? I pasted the description of what this movie is from Criterion, and I guess as we go through, we'll see if you think the movie lives up to this. So Kurosawa's arresting international breakthrough established him as one of the leaders of an emergence of new wave Japanese horror, while pushing the genre in uncharted realms of philosophical and existential exploration. I guess so. A string of shocking, seemingly unmotivated murders, yes. Each committed by a different person, yes. All bearing the same grisly hallmarks. That's written pretty well. The detective into a labyrinth investigation to discover what connects them, kind of, and into a disturbing game of cat and mouse with an enigmatic amnesiac, right? Okay.
Yes.
Cat and mouse, yeah, sure. Who may be evil incarnate. Wow, that's steep. Awash is a hushed, hypnotic dread. Cure is a tour de force of psychological tension and hallucinatory journey into the darkest recesses of the human body.
So that description definitely wants you to exercise your
Purchasing rights at criterion.com.
Well, yes, but they want you to exercise your vocabulary skills, especially if you are reading it out loud and trying to enunciate all of those words. Like you said, labyrinth, and I think that's a labyrinthine investigation because labyrinth doesn't have that many letters in it.
Labyrinthine, a labyrinth-like investigation.
Labyrinthine, and then enigmatic is not necessarily an easy word. And you've got, psychological and philosophical and existential exploration. Yeah, it's just like...
It's funny because I watch a lot of these Criterion, haul videos. And, in the videos, they're looking at the backs and they're reading the descriptions or whatever. And, I generally don't do that until, I'm, just depending how, if I'm not really into a movie, maybe 5-10 minutes, I'm pulling up criterion.com and reading this description. What am I in for here? Movies I like a little bit more, maybe that'd be an hour and a half into it. I go and see what Criterion was up to. So I'm a little different than most ducks in terms of when I decide to read what something's about, because I'm kind of a cover guy. I just kind of go with what the cover and what I've heard about, the main things about the plot.
Nothing wrong with that. I buy blind a lot, so I do read the back and go, look at the director, look at what kind of style it is. I bought Double Indemnity blind, but it was Billy Wilder, and I had I loved all of his movies. I think the one I liked the least that I'd seen at this point was 7 Year Itch, and that was still really good. So it was all right, fuck it, we're gonna shoot for this. Or when I bought Lady Snowblood, or when I bought Lone Wolf and Cub. Those kind of movies now, I typically, I know what I'm in for. I'm probably gonna like it. I'm just gonna buy it if it's supposed to be good, kind of deal. So yeah.
All right. So I got my notes for the going through the plot. Does that sound good?
Yeah, let's talk about the plot. There was not a lot of plot in this movie, and by that I don't mean never mind. Just continue.
All right, so the movie does start on a pretty cool shot where Fumi, which is the main detective's wife, she's not really quite right in the head, so she's having a little doctor's appointment, and they're talking about this Bluebeard book. Didn't have a clue what Bluebeard was about, but I looked it up on the old Wikipedia, and apparently a Bluebeard has something to do with a man who kills a series of women. So I guess that can loosely be adapted to the story since we have a serial killer. It's not necessarily women, but that's a tie-in there. So now you know.
Okay, yeah. I didn't even think about looking at what Bluebeard meant, because by the time you got to the end, it was so long, gone.
And then there's this one weird part, I think she's going to a doctor's appointment and she's walking over a bright blue bridge, and then she turns around like she's lost, and it's a strange little scene, and then she's talking to the doctor, and then she doesn't remember the book anymore. So little things I picked up on while I was flipping back through the movie. Which I think, this is the kind of movie that demands that kind of attention, but gosh, you have that catch-22 about, are the intricacies really, is the juice really worth the squeeze in terms of like how slow the pacing is and getting into like these intricacies,
Yeah, like I said in my review, like I feel like I missed something, like there was some symbology or symbolism or something that I just missed. But like thinking about it, like it's just like, or did I, or is it just overly complicated to be overly complicated kind of deal?
As I was, yeah, that was getting that vibe as I was going through, like it was being like clear with what it was doing, but a little nuanced, and that kind of felt a little pretentious throughout. And I'm a little further away from that opinion, but we'll see where we get to by the end. But not long after that, we get the cool scene of this random guy going through a tunnel. He grabs a pipe and bashes, I guess, a hooker who's in his bed, and we get a pretty gnarly a bloody shower scene. That's what I'm trying to get out of my mouth. With some very strange contrasting upbeat music. Not sure if you recall that part.
I just remember thinking at that point, it was like he was, taking a shower, but there was still blood getting everywhere. And I was like, that really defeats the purpose of taking the shower if you're still getting blood everywhere. Because it was like, I guess part of the shower curtain was outside the tub. So it was like dripping down onto the floor and shit. And I was like, you're still giving CSI evidence there. Like,
oh, I thought he was doing something with the body. So I don't know.
I mean,
wasn't
maybe
all that clear. I kind of got some interpretation out of this. So basically the idea of like this upbeat music and then this contrasted by this really like vile like murder and stuff is like, this is just kind of like the typical shit this cop Kanishi sees on an everyday as he's, having try to be a normal person while he's going to these gruesome murder scenes. So, message. Let's see here. The bashing murder. Oh, okay. So just like I was reading in the plot description that these murderers are found not too long later. So Kanishi has a buddy, the psychiatrist. His name is Mikado. They discuss seeing the string. Okay, so this is the part where can you refresh our memories, Joey? And what are these murder scenes like?
So typically, they all have a lot of the same things. Like, they can all be killed in different ways, but they all have an X carved into their neck. Mm-hmm. And then the murderer is either found very close to the scene, at the scene, and admits to it. Doesn't try to hide it or anything. Admits to it, but doesn't know why. Like, they don't know why they killed this person. Whether it's a hooker or someone close to them, or whatever. They just don't. They have no clue. They were just like, I was compelled to. They don't know why they were compelled to or by what. They're just compelled to.
Yeah, I think there was mention of like the devil made me do it, so they kind of like make it a little eerie sounding there. There's no reason for the crimes, kind of thing. Getting into like the whole moral center of it.
Yeah, I do remember, a lot of times there was like, oh, it's like the devil made it do it. And so I guess there were certain people who didn't want to believe that they were connected or something, I guess.
Or and capable of doing like that. Like, I guess inclined to suggestion. Like, I think they get into in the movie, like, if you don't have the morals to kill somebody, you can't be like convinced to do it or something, and that's kind of questioned throughout.
Yeah, you're right. They did. That was a thing that they talked about. It's like if you wouldn't kill a person normally, like, you couldn't be hypnotized into doing it.
All right. I accidentally skipped forward a little bit. Okay. So, yeah, I definitely kind of latched onto the fact this was an art film in the next scene where we're just hanging out on the beach for like ever, watching this guy like wander around, which looks super cool, but also is, one of those trying patience times. Tell me about it, Joey.
I think you summed it up pretty good. Didn't he like talk to, like, he was asking for help or something, or someone was trying to help him and he was trying to refuse it, but he kept not knowing who he was or whatever, which I think later on we kind of find that might be a bit of a lie, that he doesn't know who he is.
Yeah, a bit.
It's just like the one small thing. So if I'm not mistaken, isn't it the guy, like that guy that he runs to on the beach, takes him home?
And his wife's there and stuff.
And his wife is sick. And he's trying to figure out, the guy on the beach is trying to figure out who the wandering guy on the beach was.
And so he's just asking him questions about himself.
Yeah, but doesn't he like look inside of his shirt, like he's washing his shirt, and his name?
Oh yeah, that's how they come up with the Mamia.
Yeah, and
name.
But I mean, it turns out like that is his name, and he takes it and he like throws it away. So I'm like, that leads me to think that he does know who he is and what he's doing. And maybe I missed to that with something later, but yeah, for sure.
Okay. Oh, interesting. So I mean, yeah, this was made in the mid '90s, but like it does have a real soft, stripped down look. I mean, it's not a glossy looking film by any means. It looks very kind of low budget cameras, but I think that it kind of at the same time gives it more of a gritty feel to the whole proceeding. So it's definitely meant to look and feel ugly in certain aspects.
I mean, I definitely am pretty sure I was watching like a DVD copy, so I wasn't sure, like, am I watching, is it the quality or, of the medium or what have you? Because, I mean, it is from 1997, so it's, it's 25 years old. Yeah, math. So
yeah, it was pretty grainy, and I think it was a choice. So that's just me.
Yeah, you're probably right. It probably was.
So yeah, in between like going to these like grisly murder scenes, we do spend time with like Kenichi and his partner, and Kenichi and his wife, and kind of see what goes on with him. When he's not having to get his nose dirty with all this blood piling up, bodies piling up everywhere. I guess I should say. I think my favorite shot in the whole movie is when the guy throws himself out of that kind of weird looking house. Remember that?
I don't. Maybe.
Aww. Oh no. And then like the camera pans up and it looks like a bunch of bloody feathers on the bed, and I guess that's like where his wife's body was, but I was like, feathers? What's all that about? Or maybe it was fur, I don't know. It was strange looking. More unsettling visual imagery in this show. Let's see here. The movie's really long and quiet. And then, like, all of a sudden, yeah, we will get these, like, little bursts of, like, action where, like, the guy who just killed his wife, he's, like, locked up in a hospital, and all of a sudden he'll, like, run into the wall or, like, bash his head on the table. So, yeah, it's interesting.
You're talking about the guy who couldn't, like, he killed his wife and just couldn't believe that he did it and was just so angry and distraught. And so, yeah, okay, he was running into the wall. Yeah, okay, I remember that.
Okay. See, Kenichi fretting about his wife's condition. She's a little mentally unsound and doing kind of weird stuff around the house. Get into that a little bit later.
And he's trying to tell her. He keeps telling her that after he finishes this case, they're gonna like take a trip. Take in anywhere she wants to go, she can pick it. So I think they're gonna go to Okinawa.
Yeah, that. Yeah, I think they're spot on there. I remember them saying Okinawa now. And so I think this is about the part where they start figuring out, so Mia, this is when he meets the cop. And so, like, he gets his attention by, like, jumping off a building and, like, spraining his ankle. So that was pretty wild. And then, and so have you kind of latched your what's your understanding of the hypnotism in the film?
It's through the lighter, like the lighter works. I think when the one person went and used the lighter, he used water, like he poured like water all over out of.
That was for the doctor. He like spills this water and like gets into her head.
Yeah, so just something I guess that's reflective that'll grab their eye.
Mm-hmm.
I
So I briefly I pinged my buddy from the Criterion Creeps just to see, you know, what his read on this, and one of his big reactions was the fact that he's tired, like in like kind of the wake of Seven, like he was tired of like these serial killers that basically can do anything they want, and like almost like a supernatural ability to unweave their evil plan or whatever. Or even if even if he has a plan, at some points he kind of looks like he's doing it randomly. So yeah, that was kind of an interesting way to look at it, and that kind of reminds you of what Kevin Spacey does in Seven. You've seen Seven, right?
I mean, I've seen Seven, but I definitely did not connect the two of them together.
Okay.
Like at all. I actually kind of got, even though it's only small bits and pieces of Death Note, the anime. And obviously the dude doesn't have a notebook and he writes the person's name and they die in it. But, you've got this bad guy and this detective, and the bad guy is basically one step ahead and has supernatural powers, or what seem to be supernatural powers. And, they're kind of just going back and forth in like this cat and mouse kind of game.
What was that crazy? I think it was a Korean movie we watched a couple years ago that's like super bloody, and it's cat and mouse cop bad guy thing.
I mean, bloody? You're not talking about Old Boy.
No, not Old Boy. Let me see if I can.
What else was happened?
It's just a really brutal movie with this cop and this serial killer guy, and they just kind of go at it, and then
I Met the Devil.
Yeah, that's it.
I Saw the Devil. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it.
I was close. It had the people from Old Boy in it.
Love that one. So that that movie comes to mind with this. Burning comes to mind in terms of it being interesting, but so kind of drawn out and subtle that it kind of loses you at points. And it's almost like this movie does have a way of like kind of hiding its cards too well, like making you feel a little bit hypnotized or dazed in the plot. But like, I guess if you're watching the movie and you don't really see what it's doing, and then by the end it like clicks for you, maybe I can see people in that crowd. But I didn't really think that the click at the end of this thing really ever set in well enough for me to be like, oh, that's what it was. And I mean, not that I'm not good with it ending on an ambiguous note, but anyways, we'll get there. So yeah, there's the doctor. He Mia basically gets in her head, like we had talked about, and she definitely knows how to murder somebody when it comes to cutting them up, because it's pretty gross with the guy walks into the bathroom and she's cutting the guy up all over the floor. So
yeah, it's always like random people. Like we see him take like a good Samaritan off the beach. He takes a doctor. He takes a police officer. So it's all people who I guess are portraying that they are good people. Maybe not necessarily pure or completely like chaste or something of that nature, but at least people who are supposed to be good. Doctors are save people and help people. Police officers help and save people, or at least they're supposed to.
I didn't pick up on that at all. That's a great insight.
I didn't honestly until just right now, like when we were like police officer, doctor, the guy who helped him on the beach, and I was just like, those all people are kind of like supposed to be good people. Now maybe that's
civil
a coincidence.
Servants.
Yeah.
Okay. So May the bad guy, he gets taken into custody where he drives all the cops crazy there. He keeps asking them really stupid questions to get under their skin, but somehow he is able to figure out things about them. Like with Kenichi, he talks about like his troubled situation with his wife. So obviously that pisses Kenichi off, and he gets quite unhinged. And at one point he like starts beating on this cop who like was telling the bad guy stuff about him, and then at other points like he's like going after the bad guy. So yeah, he's definitely becoming unhinged in the process of going through all this.
Yeah, a little bit.
More troubles at home for Kenichi and Fumi. She ends up missing. Oh, and when I was flicking back through it, I didn't get it on the first watch. The second watch, there's a part where like he's looking at a piece of meat, and then like whenever you do like a double take, you're like, hey, that's not cooked, and it's because it's not. I think she's going a little crazy. She served him dinner, but it was raw meat. He throws against the wall or whatever, and so yeah, he's getting pretty irritated with his home life. If it can only be seen in those small little glimpses. Any thoughts on the hallucinations thing they were teasing in the Criterion description? You remember that part?
I mean, kind of. Like, unfortunately, it being late, and I watched this a week ago, and there was just a lot to pack in there, like to unpack. Like, I feel like I remember that there were hallucinations, and then sometimes it's like, wait, what the fuck is happening? And then it's like, oh, someone was hallucinating, but like I couldn't tell you a hallucination. Like,
so they finally figure out where the bad guy lives. They go check out his house. He has all these monkeys, and one of the monkeys is like tied up and like has a little X cut. So they know, this is where this is all stemming from. Oh, okay. And then the baddie gets into under Kenishi's skin again with the fact that, his wife and him are having, the whole ordeal. Okay, so this is what I was getting to. So, like, after he sees all that, like, he has flashes of that kind of crazy stuff, and then all of a sudden he has, like, he's filled with dread, and he goes home and he has this hallucination of his wife has, like, hung herself, but, not really the case. So, that definitely is, another one of those like burst moments that really grabs your attention with this movie, this plot, before, kind of easing things down a bit. It's strange how so much happens, but at the same time, it didn't feel like much happened.
Yeah, like there's like that, especially when you're talking about where the scene where she's, he thinks she hangs herself, and then you cut out and he's just on the floor in the kitchen, and she's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong? Why are you crying?" So yeah, no, it's definitely like you said, like a lot happens, but not really.
Yeah, because it's not very showy about any of it. Because like when I was flipping back through it, you can see like how methodical this Mei Mia is when it comes to like not knowing, like acting confused, but then like gaining their trust somehow, and then using the lighters and dripping water in order to get into their head and convince them essentially that they need to kill somebody close to them, and they're not going to know why. And yeah, so let's see. Kenichi's majorly unhinged, will lash out at people, including cops. Mentioned that a little while ago. Let's see here. Oh, there's the one. Gosh, there's so many doggone scenes where he's just like in front of cops, just acting ridiculous, and kind of irritates me even talking about the fact that this happened so many times in this movie. Okay. So things reach kind of a low point with Fumi, and so she gets committed. Well, basically sent to like a hospital to get better. Let's see. So do you remember much of the climax?
So I remember she thinks they're going on the trip, and he's like, "No, we're not going on the trip." And like I remember she had went to a doctor's appointment and was like, "I'm sorry, I'm late. I forgot where I was going," or got lost, or both. Yeah,
that was the Blue Bridge scene I brought up earlier.
Yeah.
So there's this do you remember like the bus scene, like where they're in this strange looking bus and there's like clouds out the windows behind them? It's very bizarre. Not so much. I know you haven't seen The Graduate, but I have to throw out The Graduate there because it definitely has kind of a similar feel, if not related thematically at all. It's just very cerebral and like this idea, like it's like they're floating through the clouds of this magic place. He's like taking her to get better, but that's not going to happen at all. So Mikado, he finds this creepy tape that they sit down and watch, and has this old woman, and like they're showing like the Xing, and I guess that's part of the hypnotizing as well. And I guess it's actually called mesmerizing.
Yeah, because it's after some guy named Mesmer, like a German scientist from back in the day.
So Mikado, he basically goes nuts, and like he like has like hallucinations that he's like caught in the bad guy's lair with the dead monkeys and stuff. And so yeah, he gets unhinged and he ends up killing himself. I'm a little unclear. So the plot, I heard one interpretation where they say Kenichi lets Miya's out of prison, and the other one says he tracks him to this old house. So I don't know. I don't really think it particularly matters.
Because I remember being like, yo, they were in prison or like in a mental institute or whatever, and then they weren't, and I was like, what the fuck?
And he's like beating on the radiator or something, or the furnace or something.
Yeah.
And I guess it's meant to imply that he breaks out, but there's this one clip where he like Kenichi opens his door, so a lot to read into there. But the house is cool. There's this really cool dread filled like wind like kind of noise going throughout the house, and they have this confrontation, and like I'm not really sure why Mamiya like has this connection with Kenichi, because like he doesn't like obviously try to kill him, but he's like relating to him and trying to talk to him about his like home situation, which ticks him off, and he ends up gunning him down there at the end.
Kenichi, and unloaded like a whole clip. It wasn't even like like a double tab. It was like 800 tap.
And then there's like this phonography machine, and it's talking about the hypnotizing process. And then all of a sudden, like Kenichi is like the new like serial killer guy, as he like smokes his cigarette and like gets this waitress to kill this lady with a knife or whatever, and then his wife ends up dead. Not sure, it's kind of ambiguous, how that comes to be, but it's very similar to how the monkey looked, like strapped to something with the X cut. So cure to this okay. So any idea what this title's about?
No, not. Is he trying to cure the human race? Is this the cure for such and such? I don't even know, to be 100% honest with you.
I'm hoping some of what we've said actually even makes sense. So based on going back through it, I found that the title has to do with, okay, so he's this dude who has a fucked up relationship with his wife because she's going nuts, and I think his relationship with his buddy's fine. But anyway, so like he's having this contrast between trying to be who he is at home and be happy, and then reserved and to himself and being a detective at work. And essentially Mamiya has like basically by doing this evil act has brought him out of like this like being torn, and now he seems to be like happy. So he's content with them circumstances, and now he hypnotizes and kills people, I guess, that irritate him. Which, when I say all that and then I get to that part, it doesn't really fit together.
Yeah,
so that's the part I struggle with.
You said that Kenichi appears to become the new killer. Like, what? Did I fucking miss something like big time, or just forgot?
Well, he comes across the device that apparently teaches or has part of the method in it, this phonography machine, and then he has this interaction with a waitress, and then she, it's alluded that she's about to kill someone almost instantly. So it's kind of it's a tough one to crack. So this is a very slow burn. I mean, there's a lot of interesting thing going on at times, a lot of interesting visual cues with the deranged crime stuff, but it's so slow and reserved that it loses you. And I don't know, it could grow on me, but I don't know. I don't think the end result worked like just like as I was describing it, like, you know, how does that really even tie together with like what he was aiming at with the themes and morals of this thing? Like, I think they're there, but they're never really it doesn't go anywhere. So I guess that's the reason why it feels a little pretentious. Yeah, somewhere between a 3.5 and a 4 for me. Like, I want to say this is an excellent film. It's definitely made to be an excellent film. It's just, I think people hype it up because it doesn't make sense as well as it should. And maybe they're calling that ambiguous.
So, like, I gave it a 3.5 on Letterboxd, but sitting here and, like, talking with you about it, like, it didn't really clarify anything. And just because a movie is shot well or, like, has good themes and stuff, like, I get sometimes stuff isn't supposed to be just 100% laid out for you. But I think with both you and I and even Carl, like, we're all pretty smart fellas, especially when it comes to movies most of the time. And we're all like, yeah, what the fuck? Like, just because a movie is like that doesn't make it good. And so I don't know if 3.5 might be a little high, maybe more like a 3. I think maybe a 3 to 3.5 because it is shot well. It is very well made. It's just the story is out there.
And there's interesting things sprinkled in. Like, I mean, the Bluebeard thing's interesting, but I don't see how it directly ties into what we see in the movie. I mean, to the fact that, I mean, there's a serial killer. Is that the match? Is that all we need to do to have a match? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. Well, let's talk about something a little more fun. Maybe Batman Returns. This movie came out in 1992. This was your pick. An American superhero film directed by Tim Burton, written by Daniel Waters, based on DC Comics character Batman, and everyone knows that, from the sequel Batman 1989. So, hey, tell me about Batman before I go into my slew of what happens in this.
Yeah, so I did pick up some fun facts about this.
Okay.
So I'm not going to go through all of them, but like Michelle Pfeiffer wasn't the first choice for Catwoman. Annette Bening was actually cast, but then she got pregnant. And then speaking of that, Michelle Pfeiffer was supposed to get a spin-off movie, which, I mean, obviously we got a spin-off Catwoman movie many years later, like 10 years later. It was apparently atrocious. Thank God. But it like took her, like, they made, I think it was like 60 suits at $1,000 a suit. Oh, wow. And they were so tight that she didn't even really get a chance. It's like she had a very small window to deliver her lines. So she hates the costume and doesn't like Catwoman at all. And another thing that I saw that was not in this, I saw it somewhere before, was the scene with the bird. That was a real bird. That she really put a bird in her mouth. So yeah, and then at the time that it came out, it was, is it not in this list? Was it in a different list? At the time that it came out, it was like the highest grossing opening. Here it is. The highest opening weekend of 1992. It was also the highest opening weekend ever at that point in time, at 45.69 million. Nice. And then part of its budget, they decided at that point they were going to make a spinoff with Catwoman and Penguin. Catwoman and Penguin, yeah, that seems right. And so they had to do that extra shot at the end, and so they had to bring in a body double and do that scene, and that last scene was $250,000 for that one last shot.
Where Catwoman and the Bat Signal can be seen or whatever?
Yeah.
Wow.
And Tim Burton did not want to work with Christopher Walken because according to Tim Burton, he scares the hell out of me. So
takes one to know one, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, so some random... And there's some more stuff, but yeah, there was just some random.
Cool.
Oh yeah, Harvey Dent and Robin were both written out of the movie, so we get that one scene near the end where she does a very impromptu kiss with the stun gun. That's supposed to be with Harvey Dent, and it would set up into Batman Forever, which, you know, they, at the time didn't know that's what it was going to be. But, you know, they ended up still having him in that movie anyway, so.
Just as Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, Tommy Lee Jones. So, and then, So I guess before we get too much into it, so I don't think I had seen this movie since I was a little kid. Like, came out when I was 7. I probably saw it at 8 or 9. I don't know if I had seen it since then, or at least, when I was younger. So I remember thinking that this was like almost like on par with 89. But boy, like I didn't remember there was so much like innuendo in this movie. The dialogue took a very huge dip, and it felt like it was trying to be dark like a Tim Burton movie, but there was so many silly, I guess it's supposed to be satirical, but just silly moments that reminded me more of what I remember about like Forever and Batman and Robin that I just was not expecting, and it kind of
doesn't get into that territory now.
Those movies knew that they were trying to be that. I don't know if this movie was trying to do that. But yeah, this was actually kind of a big disappointment. So,
So my history with this, I do remember watching this in the theater. One of my strongest memories was the fact I remember having the original Batmobile from the '89 movie and loved playing it. It was like one of my favorite toys, and then they totally destroy it in the movie. I was like, no. So I have pretty fond memories of watching in the theater, but I hadn't seen it since I was a kid, leading up until this a few years ago. So I'll get there. Do you remember the controversy over how like this was, basically after Batman '89, like McDonald's like, oh, let's make Batman toys. It's a huge franchise or whatever. And then, Burton delivers this not kid-friendly movie, which, man, it went right over my head. I didn't notice all the saucy stuff when I watched it as a kid. So, those overly concerned parents.
Oh yeah, that was one of the fun facts that McDonald's like quit making the kids meals, the Happy Meal toys, because of how violent it was. But I was like, Batman '89 was violent. What the fuck you were expecting? Like, except for I remember he straight up murders at least 2 people. He being Batman in this movie, like he sets one guy like literally on fire, I think, with the Batmobile, and something else where he like throws a guy down he was at least 2 times where he just straight murdered somebody, and we're like, oh well, he's just killing people. All right, let's go.
So we try to do a little bit of a movie marathon every Black Friday, and a few years ago we did a Batman one, and this was one of the things we watched, and I was just floored by my rewatch of Batman Returns, and I gave it 5 stars. I enjoyed it so much. So I kind of came down to earth a little bit with this watch, but at the same time, I still think I enjoy it quite a bit more than you do. I love how the Burton style is consistent from '89 to here, as we're introduced to... No? Okay.
I mean, maybe the style, the dialogue.
Feels like the same Gotham to me.
Yeah, there was... Okay, so there was some things that were the same, and some of that I thought was kind of bad. So it definitely felt like it was the same place, the same Gotham. I will give you that. But you have Penguin's henchmen, and I get that they're from the oddities camp or circus or whatever, but it's clowns, and then they're all like the way they're moving and like trying to fight, and the weapons they have all look like the same thing from Batman '89, and I'm like, but they don't need to be Joker's villain. Like, they felt like Joker henchmen instead of Penguin henchmen. So that was one thing that I was just like, that was a little much, or a little weird maybe. And I get that they didn't want to do Penguin as Penguin the mob leader, because they just did Joker as like the crime boss. But this kind of Penguin. I mean, Danny Devito did what he could. Danny Devito was great, but the character was just kind of like, eh. Like, he just wanted to fuck chicks. And I mean, I guess I can get that. He's been living in a sewer his whole life, but like...
What? I didn't pick up on that at all.
Oh, he comes out and he's Max Schreck, so Chris Walken brings him out, and like all he's talking, like he's just like talking about how hot these girls are. And he's like, I don't want to run for mayor. And he's like, you can get all the poontang you want. And then he's like giving out buttons.
Oh, the innuendo you were talking about.
Yeah, he just wants to bone chicks. Like, that's all he really cares about.
Okay, I thought you were actually saying there were scenes where he was with some girls. I was like, oh, there's that.
No, I didn't watch the porno version of this movie. Jeez.
You notice Pee Wee Herman dumped the baby in the basket?
Yeah, that's one of the things I said. Apparently, he shows up in Gotham as Penguin's father in Gotham, the TV show.
Oh, okay.
I didn't get that far into Gotham, but their Penguin was pretty good. I enjoyed their Penguin, what I saw of it.
Okay. I was just mostly thinking about the fact that Burton directed Pee-wee's Big Adventure and so brought him back for this. I'm not crazy about the basket don't going down in the sewers. That's kind of felt like kind of a wasted opportunity. But at the same, I mean, obviously the 89 one's way better in terms of like going through the logo. One, a strange but different villain. Oh, what a strange but different villain was Shrek. Yeah, him being like this like corrupt business magnate who, yeah, kind of a different feel. But if you want to actual like supervillains, never fear. You got Catwoman, and I wouldn't really call Penguin a supervillain, but you know he's something. And that crazy cat logo for Shrek.
Yeah, and another like crazy, greedy business person. This one just doesn't get killed by the Joker like 10 minutes into it, 20 minutes into it.
It's hilarious. Like his master plan is to steal Gotham's power, but that doesn't even really matter in like the whole scope of the movie because he's mostly there just to try to kill Selina. She becomes Catwoman and then try to build up Penguin's reputation, even though he seems to want to sabotage him at the same time.
Also, the way that Selina becomes Catwoman is fucking ridiculous. Like, I don't know in the comics how it's supposed to go down, but, you know, the fact that she falls out of a window that she couldn't have lived through, and then some cats come and, like, sniff on her, and all of a sudden she's like, I got 9 lives. I guess I only have 8.
They nibbled on her fingers, and that's weird. And so it works.
No, it really doesn't.
She's flickering her eyes. That was cool and weird. It works. I really like the giant guys pulling the levers in the town square. Remember that was in the cartoon?
Was it? Sure.
There was a lot of. Did you watch Batman the animated series?
I mean, here and there, like.
Okay. There was just a lot of like parallels between like the Burton films in that series, so fond memories. But I'll have to get back to it. I might owe Spider-Man 2 an apology. So I'm like rewatching the Spider-Man animated series and like, yeah, the Dr. Octopus thing that I remembered and what's in Spider-Man 2 not quite lining up. So might have to do a little apology notice there coming up. Even though I probably still find problems with Spider-Man 2. All right. Bruce / Batman, Mr. Michael Keaton. Much more stoic this time. You could call that lifeless or wooden, but I found it stoic. And I was very entertained by his little sinister smiles as he was bad guy bashing.
Yeah. I mean...
No? Nope. Okay.
I don't know. I felt like there was less... I don't want to say there was less Batman, because I don't think that's true. It just felt... I don't know. It didn't feel the same, even though it was the same actor.
Oh, yeah. He definitely acted different in this. Like, way more like... I think of it as stoic. Anywho. He was pretty stoic in the first one. He's not the one, like he even mentions 100 times in this movie. He's not the one who was like, hey, Vicky Vale, here's my secret fucking Batcave. It was Alfred. He's just like, I mean, I would be real, probably, like, no offense to Danny DeVito and Chris Walken, they're not Jack Nicholson. And that's probably the main thing, is that they're not Jack Nicholson. And then, you know, no Vicky Vale, because Vicky Vale was... Not a fan.
Not a fan of Vicky Vale?
Yeah.
And look, it's not even like... And there's nothing wrong with Michelle Pfeiffer. She's not the best Catwoman.
Yeah, she is. Or you would, Anne Hathaway?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Okay. All right, so yeah, flicking back through this, I was quite amused the fact that like all this violence and stuff is going down in the middle of Gotham, and they got to turn on the bat signal and has to get out there, and he has to get dressed and then drive out to the city to handle these clowns from hell. Now, I was not getting Joker henchmen vibes from these fellas. I was thinking more of like the roller skate clan from Batman and Robin, with how like all of a sudden they show up and they're all in like however they're traveling, and they go and attack Batman in a very simulated way, I guess. I don't know how to describe it exactly, but like in Batman and Robin, where like the Mr. Freeze's henchmen show up and all of a sudden they're like they're skating around on this like rink or whatever. So
I haven't seen that.
It kind of had the
really.
beginnings of that feel, but not quite as over the top.
So I guess to me, where I said it feels like Joker is they all have like these different weapons, and the way they showcase them is one guy, he pulls out like the double katanas, and it's just like the one guy. After he saves Vicky Vale and like shoots her up to the scaffolding, this guy comes out, and then just the way they're moving reminded me of how his henchmen moved.
Okay.
Not
so
necessarily how much they looked. It was more of their movement. And I was like,
so the action was directed to similarly.
Yeah, and I mean, like
words I could use to speak.
Yeah. So it's like these are different henchmen, but they were just giving me those very specific vibes of being very similar to the other one, at least in mannerism. And I mean, hey, you have the same director, you might have the same choreographer. Like it kind of makes sense. Like, and 30 years ago, probably no one's paying attention to something that nuanced. You probably haven't watched Batman 89 20 times by the time Returns comes out. So, it makes sense.
So thinking forward to like the Nolan films, like where Commissioner Gordon's like a big deal, like the commissioner has like no agency in this movie whatsoever. He just kind of walks around like, Batman, the penguin's over there, kind of not Adam West style quite, but not far away from it either.
Adam Wee.
I believe Tim Burton didn't direct Nightmare Before Christmas because he was doing this, and I was pretty sure there was that zoo that the penguin hangs out in was doing a Nightmare Before Christmas theme that for Christmas. Yeah, that's a stupid joke. I'm sorry. Yeah, so Danny DeVito and Michelle Pfeiffer really brought it with the acting. I thought so.
Oh yeah, where he calls her a pussy. Like, I'm just like, oh my god, it was so bad. Some of it was just so.
Oh, gosh.
Well, that whole thing where she's in his room and he comes up there and he drops like 2 lines of innuendo like pretty close, and then she puts the bird in her mouth and then like spits it out.
Well, yeah, because he like puts the knife against the cat or something. So like they were like challenging each other's creatures. I thought it was funny. Penguin in his vile black slobber. Selena's apartment's nice and pink with all those stuffed animals, and it gets fucking crazy whenever she spray paints it black after she's so pissed off and turning into Catwoman. And I'm pretty sure the scene right before, whenever Shrek like catches her like looking into the Bruce Wayne file, and like I think there's a stuffed Chihuahua on Shrek's piece of furniture there. So go back, check it out.
He bought the Yokiro Taco Bell dog and stuffed it.
A little early for that campaign, probably.
Probably, yes.
Yeah, I enjoyed the transformation quite a bit. Apparently, he thought it was bullshit.
I mean, look, I get we're superhero movies and all that. At least make the fall where she could have lived. Like, she fell like 27 stories or some shit. Something where she was not living.
So like, yeah, the whole idea of this movie where Penguin's trying to like improve his self-image for what means, I'm not exactly sure. I guess to
become a mayor, even though they just had an election, and I guess they were going to try to get a recall.
Yeah.
Like, that also was like...
So Shrek can do what he wants. What he wants. He's using it as a puppet.
Yeah, but it's like, you can't like just force a recall. Like, that's... Duh. But okay. I digress.
Catwoman flipping backwards, very cool. Shrek and Bruce have a pretty pointless scene where they're talking until Selena shows up and make things a little bit more interesting. Oh yeah, one of the most interesting scenes in the movie is probably the humiliation scene where Shrek gives Penguin like a fish, and then he walks him downstairs in front of like all these people that are like working for him and clapping for him, and he's like feels ridiculous, and he ends up biting that dude's nose. So pretty crazy stuff there. More clowns from hell as Penguin, Catwoman, and Bats all meet up together and have their little, hey, we're all the supers in this movie. What's up? Oh yeah. There's a funny moment where Bats is sitting there like pulling the cat claws out of his side. A little moment of weakness for Bats. A little bit more humanity.
I mean, the side has always kind of been like the weaker part of the bat suit. You can get stabbed in the side. What about him, as she put it in the movie, napalming her when he threw like that blue thing? I guess it was acid, burn her arm.
Oh.
But she called it napalming, which was kind of funny.
The first scene when they kind of spin together, there's like no chemistry at all. But later on, when they're at the ball, it gets a little bit spicier. It's cool to see Batman go and pick out, exactly what he's going to wear as he goes out and saves the day. I already mentioned the thing about my Batmobile. Let's see.
So when you talk about the Batmobile, you mean where they tampered with it, or are you talking about where he shoves the sides off so he can go through the alleyway?
Yeah, I was mad when they had to defamate my Batmobile.
That was like the one thing I really remembered was him shooting the sides off. So let me tell you a thing that pissed me off about the Batmobile.
Okay.
So I understand they had one of his computerized bat wings. But those people who are not millionaire, billionaire playboys with all the toys and gadgets in the world, and I guess top engineers or whoever the fuck's designing his shit, maybe himself, they were able to reverse engineer a way to get the frequency to the Batmobile to unlock and get inside of it and then tamper with it to the point where the Penguin could control it with one of those quarter machine cars that's out in front of Rose's. All of that was dumb. That was some old bullshit stupid.
I thought it was pretty funny to see the little miniature Batmobile that Penguin could fit in. Rocking back and forth as they're screaming at each other through the monitors.
No. Negatory. That was... Oh.
But Joey, Batman gets to defame Penguin by playing a track of him, saying all this really bad stuff about the people of Gotham. And there's even a little Bats CD player that comes down and has a little Bat logo, and Bruce can go wicka wicka on it. It's pretty cool stuff. Wicka wicka. It's better than the Bat credit card, right?
I think I made some mention of like everything having the Bat logo on it, and yeah, the Bat player is better than the Bat credit card. The scratching the CD like it's a vinyl was not.
Wow. The end of this movie's a little weak in terms of the fact that they're kind of all just standing around waiting for the Penguins to do what they're doing, and even Batman doesn't get that much to do, where he's like going around the sewers like jamming the signal, which is not interesting to look at all. And then they kind of have their confrontations where things are blowing up, and Penguin dies, and Selena and Shrek just kind of show up, and they look all disheveled and stuff. I guess they got roughed up quite a bit and falling down into that Penguin lair.
And then she kills Shrek when they make out with the
taser. But there's like some kind of open like electrical line too, right? Like she really blasts
something
him.
to amplify it or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was also, that was very stupid. I was like, why would anybody do that?
It's a Batman movie, Joey. Why are we basing this all in reality? although Catwoman taking all those bullets,
He
silly.
doesn't have superpowers. He's a fucking regular dude. It's not like we were watching fucking Superman. We were watching Batman.
But
And
those
especially-
those adorable penguins gave the penguin a Viking funeral, and that's what matters at the end of the day. And Batman will never forget Catwoman because, you know, he just has that essence of cat as he goes down the Gotham alleyways, and, you know, she's hanging out by the signal. I admit that this movie does have its faults in some areas, but I think the whole process of watching these very hammy performances, it's quite fun. I like Batman Returns, but I think it's probably more of a 4.5 now. Maybe 4.
Boy, you are just shelling out stars. Jeez, who are you, fucking Brian Alvarez? Dave Meltzer? Jesus Christ. 2.5 stars. I want you to know that this made me change my Batman list of rankings.
Oh.
And I moved this movie from 3rd or 4th to currently 7th. Behind Batman Forever.
Wrong
Just
move.
saying.
Wrong move. I'll admit I probably got a little.
So.
I'll admit I'll get a little too swept up in this last viewing when I was like in ideal conditions. I think it's a lot of fun, a lot of silly moments too, but it's definitely. So have you rewatched Forever yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Don't worry. We're going to watch that. Yeah, we're not this movie, but when we come back around to my next rewatch pick, oh yeah, we're watching Batman Forever, and then we're gonna watch Batman and Robin. I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you that.
Stop. He's kidding, folks.
No, I'm not.
He wants to talk about worst Batman movies in this.
No, we're going to talk about how they're better. I mean, Ice to Meet You is better than anything that was in this Batman movie. Chill
I think
out.
we're having more of an argument about this than Dancer in the Dark.
No. Oh my god.
All right, so okay, so 2.5 stars, 4.5 stars. I like Batman Returns, and Joey does not.
That is an accurate statement.
Because he wants the Nolan trilogy, apparently.
Oh, I mean, as a trilogy, yes, those are the 3 best cohesive Batman movies. I don't think that's really an argument.
Okay. You know, different Batman movies for different strokes.
I mean, 89
right.
is still the overall singular best, but
Okay.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And
I'll revisit my list, see where I stacked everything. I still need to watch all those animated ones they got on HBO Max.
oh yeah, a lot of those are supposed to be really good.
All right, so let's talk about what we're doing next. What is going to be our first feature movie next time?
So we're gonna go back to Japan.
Japan.
We're gonna go back to a director whose last name is Kurosawa. With Stray Dog.
Okay, that's a crime show, right?
Yes, it's a detective who has his gun stolen on a bus, and he has to go and try and find it, I believe is what the premise is.
So for the longest time in season 1 or 2, or earlier in the show, like I was figuring out a way to try to get us to watch this movie. I like the fact that we've had a chance to watch some of my favorite movies on the show, like Fargo and Pulp Fiction and Fight Club. And now we're going to watch another one of my favorite movies. Are you scared?
Oh, a little bit.
Nah, I shouldn't be. We're watching Being John Malkovich, which is awesome.
Oh, I mean, I've been wanting to watch that. I don't know if I'll like it, but I've been wanting to watch it, so.
So, same director as her. Yeah, very, very artsy. Both of these are in Criterion, so we're having a little Criterion show.
Well, not us, never.
All right. If you would like us to answer any questions, and email us. So we'll check the mailbag. Not those random like, hey, join our podcasting network, because we're a club. We stay friends and club. None of this makes any sense. We've been talking about Batman too much.
Yes, like Justin said, hit us at the Average Joe's Movie Clubcast at gmail.com. You can find us both on Letterboxd. That's always in the show notes. Twitter, pretty much tons of different ways. So yeah, we want to hear if you think what we think is stupid, or if you have something else, or if you have something to suggest. Just whatever. Just let us know.
There's someone out there that was thinking, those guys have no idea about what's going on with Cure. So tell us more. Someone please tell us about Cure, and then someone please tell us why Batman Returns is like the best Batman movie, or why it's the worst one, or something really in between. I can make that comment for you, Joey. I can do it.
Oh, you're gonna make the comment that it's the best?
Oh, it's pretty good. I like it. It's good. Dark. Burton. So, Joey, why do we do this show?
Because we love talking about movies.
Good night, everybody.
Go Tigers.
Oh, Gamecocks, Vikings. Football's here. Hooray. Bye-bye.
Packers, baby. Packers.
Oh, troll.
You and I have unfinished business.
Oh? And what's so stinking about it?
The moment I catch it feeling, spirit to start.
I think this just might be my masterpiece.